wait for some more minutes.
I just started the recording.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Then,
so we should be good to go.
sweet. All right. Then I think we can jump right in. All right. Trisha, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. Thanks for joining us, looking at deep diving into LinkedIn and personal websites, brought to you by our very own steering committee members, Trish Albano and Katie Gallagher, who I'll introduce to you more to in a moment. So just to give you an introduction to SWMS for those who may be new to the organization or need a reminder, we're the Society for Women in Marine Science, or SWMS, and our goal is to bring together marine scientists of all career levels to discuss the diverse experiences of women in marine science and celebrate the research that are done by women in the field and really work to create and promote a space for women to be visible within the marine science community. And we were actually founded 10 years ago in 2014 by a group at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. But since then, we've grown to having 20 different chapters throughout the country, both housed at different academic institutions as well as more regionally in different states. And we even have 2 chapters abroad in Nigeria and Ghana. And our steering committee, excuse me, our steering committee currently, there's myself as the president. I'm Tricia Thibodeau. I'm currently an assistant professor at the University of New England. I'm a plankton ecologist by training, but I've been involved with SWIM since I was doing my graduate degree at VIMS, where I started the chapter there. Trish is our vice president, and she works for NOAA. And then Katie Gallagher is our comms lead, and she is currently a postdoc at Stony Brook University, and both of them will be leading the webinar for you all today. They have a lot of experience in doing professional development and different kinds of online presence tools like websites, for example. Our chapter co-liaison, Kaylee Krieg, is also here. She is one of the go-tos that you can reach out if you have a chapter, a SWIMS chapter, and you're interested in learning more, or if you'd like to maybe consider starting a chapter, you can reach out to her, as well as our other chapter co-liaison, Mercedes Pinzone, who is not here today, I don't believe. Ashley Cohen is our treasurer. And then we have 2 mentorship chairs. We have a really awesome mentorship program. We encourage you to check out on our website. If you're not familiar with it, it's open to members. We have 2 co-chairs that help lead that, Brianna Vanderplow and Tia Uwang. And then we have a clerk and secretary, Megan Housen, who is also here today. And we have a really diverse range of experiences among the steering committee. Some are government scientists, some are academic scientists, some work for nonprofits. So some are, established professors, and some are graduate students. So anyway, a lot of range and experiences that we can offer to you all as members as well. And we'd really encourage you to become a SWIMS member if you are not. Our member dues are very minimal at $5, but we do encourage those that are more advanced in their careers, like postdocs or above, to donate a bit more. And as being a member, you have access to our mentorship program. We just reinvigorated our Slack channel, which we really encourage you to check out. It's a great way to learn about job opportunities, as well as just to help build a virtual community if that's what you're looking for. We do newsletters at least once a month, if not more, to announce different events we have going on. We have elections every year for our steering committee that you can do as being a member if you're interested in that. And we also offer webinars like this one, usually to anyone, even if you're not a member. And then we have research and travel grants that we use to help those getting to some of the larger marine science meetings like Ocean Sciences, as well as some of our more regional meetings like our swim symposium that I'll talk about more in a moment. And just a couple community guidelines we like to do for the beginning of any of our SWMS meetings or webinars. No one knows everything, but together we know a lot. What's learned here leaves here, what's said here stays here. Set aside what can wait, so try to be present during this time and listen actively and speak from your own experience instead of generalizing. So focusing on I instead of they, we, and you. And we usually ask that you hold questions until the end, and you can use the raise hand function, which is at the bottom of your screen under the React options. And also, I mean, I don't think it's as big of a deal with this sized group, but sometimes we ask folks if you're low on bandwidth to turn your camera off during the discussion until the discussion, just because that way we can save our bandwidth. And we just wanted you all to know we're having our first symposium in person since 2019. It's really exciting. This was one of kind of the reasons SWIM started, was that we did these symposia at Woods Hole and MIT, and then we've since expanded to broader New England and the Mid-Atlantic. And so this one's going to be our first one in New York at Stony Brook University on Long Island. And we'd really encourage you, if you think you have the time and the bandwidth, to attend. And there's more information on the website link that Katie just posted in the chat. It's focused on different career stages, so there's going to be a number of different panelists there. All of them are identifying as women, and it'll be a really great opportunity just to be able to network and get to know folks that are women in marine science. So I encourage you to check it out.
Thanks, Trisha.
And let's go ahead and do introductions. And Trish, maybe I'll lead this over to you to take away.
Sure. Thanks, Trisha. All right. So we have a pretty small group here. I think we could, with just 24 of us, manage to spend a couple minutes getting to know each other. Obviously, all these webinars that we do, these professional development webinars for SWIMS, are great information, sources, but SWIMS is primarily a community for women to connect in marine science. So we love to, when we have a small enough group, get to go around the room and say where you're calling from, your name, and how long you've been involved with SWIMS. So I can get us started. And if you are not able to come on camera, that's totally fine. Feel free to stay off camera or put in the chat, but I'll start us off and then can kind of just go down the list as I see it here. So like Trisha said, I'm Trish. Not confusing at all that president and vice president are Trish and Trisha. I am calling in from Washington, D.C., and I've been with SWIMS for, I think, like 2 years, 2 to 3 years now, it seems. So happy to be here. And I'll pass it to Katie.
Thanks, Trish. It's definitely not confusing at all that you are both named Trisha. It's very confusing. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Gallagher. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling in from Long Island. Like Trisha said, I'm a postdoc at Stony Brook University, and I've actually been helping to with some aspects of the planning of the swim symposium. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop a chat, or as Trisha also mentioned, I'm the comms lead. So if you have ever emailed our swims.general.contact@gmail.com, that's me on the other side. Feel free to ask any questions about the symposium, and I will do my best to answer them. And I look forward to seeing you all there. I've been on the steering committee now for about 1.5 years. And before I was on the steering committee, I also was a member of the University of Delaware chapter, where I did my PhD. And I also have had some involvement here with the Stony Brook chapter as well. I guess I will pass it off to Kaylee next, because Kaylee, you're next on my screen after Trisha.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kaylee Krieg. I am calling in from Salisbury, Maryland. It's on the eastern shore of Maryland. I am a coastal climate specialist with the University of Maryland Sea Grant Extension Program. And I've been involved with SWIMS on the steering committee for, I'm going to say 2 to 3 years as well. I think me and Trish came on around the same time, and I've been involved in the organization as a member a little longer. I think my first event was the symposium in Cambridge at Horn Point. And I've gone to a couple events at like the Ocean Science meeting in San Diego. So yeah, a couple years before I became a steering committee member. So I guess I should pass it to Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm the secretary for SWMS. I work for GCUS in Savannah, Georgia. And I've been involved with SWMS for 3 years, I think, 3 years. And then I will pass it to Mariah, who is next on my screen.
Cool. Hi, I'm Mariah. I am in the Northern Virginia area, in Springfield, which is just right outside Washington, D.C. And I'm a classroom teacher. I teach marine science / oceanography to high schoolers, but I'm looking to transition out of the classroom. And so I was really interested in the topic of this seminar with how to establish your online presence, because I'm in the process of job hunting, and this is my first SWMS event ever. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Mariah. I'll just go down my list so we don't miss anybody. So next up, I've got Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah. I'm from Rutgers University. I'm part of the newly established chapter there. So I've been part of SWMS for about a few months. But I'm in South Jersey, and I'm studying shellfish ecology at the Haskin Shellfish Research Lab. And I'm a third-year master's student who's looking to graduate and get a job. So I was hoping to maybe less the professional website side, but more the LinkedIn side of trying to establish my online presence.
Awesome. Thanks, Leah. Next up, we got Cassie.
Hi there, I'm Cassie DuBois, she, her. I am a master's student at Rhode Island College, and I also take some classes at the University of Rhode Island for more marine bio side of things. I don't think I'm part of a particular chapter. I just kind of joined when I went to the meeting at the Ocean Science meeting in New Orleans last spring. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Cassie. Next on my list is Noelle. Hi, Noelle. Do you remember me? I hope so.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course I remember you, Trish.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Noelle. I'm calling in from the Dana lands of the also known as Fairbanks, Alaska, and I am brand new to SWMS. This is my first event, so happy to be here. And nice to see you again, Trish.
Good to see you too. Glad to have you. All right, next on our list is Catherine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I am at the University of Delaware in the Lewis campus, so the oceanography campus. I am a fourth-year PhD student, and this is my first SWMS meeting, but I heard about it through my university. So,
awesome. Thanks, Catherine. Next up is Marissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa. I am a PhD student at the University of Miami. And I am actually defending 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I am currently job hunting, which is why I thought that this seminar would be good. And I am a member of the University of Miami chapter. And I believe I joined at the end of last semester, I want to say. So still relatively new.
Awesome. Thanks, Marissa. Just put in the chat, we got definitely got a couple of canes over here. Megan and I both went to Miami. All right, next up is Alexandra.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexandra Cabanelas, she, her. I'm calling from Woods Hole, Massachusetts. So I'm a PhD student in the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution Joint Program. And I'm the new co-president for our newly restarted chapter at Hui. So I'm excited to be part of this now and looking forward to, restarting the chapter.
That's awesome. Thanks for all your efforts to get that chapter started up again. Very cool. All right, next we have Tekla, and please correct me if I didn't say it correct.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Tekla. I'm originally from Italy, so that's my name. It's kind of weird for you, perhaps, but I moved to California a couple of months ago. So right now I'm currently job hunting. That's why actually I'm here for getting some advices on how to present myself online. And I'm a marine biologist. I'm work on ocean literacy and marine stewardship projects, and that's it.
Thanks, Tekla. Next on my list is Mia. Hi, Mia.
Hi, Trish. My name's Mia. I'm calling in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'm a senior undergraduate at FAU's Honors College, studying marine bio, and I'm doing a minor in law. This is my first swims event, but I've been following swims on Instagram for a while, and I joined a few months ago.
Good to see you, Mia, which also reminds me I need to text you back. So I will do that after we get off this call. Next on the list is Nicole.
Hello, Nicole Palma. I live in Monterey, California. Originally from Florida, went to the University of Miami. Recognize some names. Hi, all. I'm relatively new to swims. I just joined, I think, a couple months ago. Not involved in any particular chapter, just the widespread one. I currently work at the Center for Ocean Leadership at the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research on the National Ocean Sciences Bowl program, which is a high school academic competition focused on ocean sciences. And there's lots of opportunities to get involved in that. So let me know if you're curious. And I'm here because I hate LinkedIn and I am trying to not hate it and see how I can like use it better, both personally and like for my job. So thanks for hosting this.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nicole.
University. Love to see that.
I think we started this webinar because several of us also hated LinkedIn. So hopefully we'll change your mind. All right, Tia.
Hi everyone, my name is Tia. I'm calling in from the University of Delaware at Lewis campus. I have been involved with swims for 3 years and involved with the stereo committee for about 2 years. And we are excited that we are establishing the UD chapter, and I have circulated it around. So hopefully I see somebody here from UD.
Thanks, Tia. All right, next up is Chakudi. If I said it wrong, please correct me.
Hello? Yeah, that's me. Hello? That's Chukudi. I'm actually a man. So I don't know whether I'm not part of swims. I was invited by a friend. I'm calling in from Nigeria, University of Nigeria. I saw this and I like observing things. I'm interested in this topic. I have lots of students who I could advise on how to job hunt and how LinkedIn and other platforms can help them. And so I'm actually a microbiologist, but I'm also interested in marine sciences. And so I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Glad to have you here all the way from Nigeria. Thanks for joining. Next is, oh, I think we already had Catherine Hughes, but Catherine Robbins. Did we get you yet?
Hi, yeah, my name is Catherine Robbins. I'm calling in from Laurel Ridge Community College. I am not a marine biologist, but I am a career coach. And my college just kind of restructured their science program. So there's a lot less support for our science students. And I was doing some research, trying to find some more ways I could support our students. And I saw your organization. So I thought I'd sit in and see what I can learn to see what I can share with our students here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. All right, next we've got Ngozi, also joining us from Nigeria.
Hi, my name is Ngozi Ogugwa. I'm joining from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a researcher with Nigeria Institute for Oceanography and Marine Research, and I'm a SWMS board member. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Ngozi. Next up is Chloe Rose.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chloe Rose. And I'm calling in from the Bay Area, which is where I live right now. I just moved here back from Europe, where I did an Erasmus Mundus Master's in Marine Biological Sciences. It's Imbercy, maybe if you've heard of it. And I finished my thesis on harmful microalgae living on plastics there. And I'm looking for my first like big girl job, I guess, in hopefully in biological oceanography. And I've been involved with SWMS as a student member since I was an undergrad, so for quite some time, but I haven't been associated with like a chapter really. But I'm really excited about this seminar because I'm quite shy. And so I want to make sure that I make a good first impression with the digital tools at my disposal. So thank you for hosting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Chloe Rose. Glad you're here. And last but not least, we have Bosede. If I said it wrong, please correct me. Also, maybe goes by Lydia. Maybe they can't come off mute right now. That's totally okay. Is there anybody I missed? I know people were coming and going as we were going down the list. So if I missed you, please feel free to come off mute now and introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. Another Catherine.
Another Catherine.
Yeah, we're everywhere. My name is Catherine. I'm calling in from Cambridge, Maryland. I'm a PhD student with the University of Maryland Centers for Environmental Science. And I've been a member of the Horn Point Laboratory SWMS chapter since 2018, when I first started as a student. And I'm curious to see, how to build my own website, because I'm going to defend next year. So I'm going to start looking for my postdoc. So thank you for hosting this. This is great.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. It's always nice to get to know everybody and to hear a little bit about what drew you to the webinar. So before we, so I'm going to take us through the LinkedIn portion. And I think it was Nicole that said, like, I'm here because I hate LinkedIn and I want to be converted to seeing it as a useful tool. And I mentioned that I think I also used to hate LinkedIn, and especially, so, well, I can start a little with my background, which is kind of relevant to this topic. Like I said, I went to the University of Miami for undergrad and grad school, and now I work for NOAA. And I think being in a school that had like a very heavy marine science program, was very marine science focused, we were kind of not explicitly told, but like LinkedIn just didn't seem to be a thing for our field. That was kind of the consensus, like, oh, LinkedIn, we don't do LinkedIn in marine science. It's just not something we do. And then after grad school, I kind of went, down the government and nonprofit route instead of the academia route. And I realized how many of my colleagues had really nice professional LinkedIn pages. And I was like, oh gosh, mine looks like, I think I had a picture there from like 2014 of me like in my first year of college. And I was like, I got to do something about this, fix it up, and maybe use it as a useful tool. And I think, LinkedIn, it's another tool in the toolbox. It's certainly not a perfect tool, and it's not the only tool that you should be using for looking for jobs and networking and whatnot. But I think in this dispersed world that we live and work in now, it can be a super useful tool because, I think this group is a great example. Like, we have folks calling in from Alaska, Nigeria, all across the mainland US, all over the world. So any types of tools that we can have to keep us connected are going to be useful. So I think, maybe just starting with the basics, what is LinkedIn? Why is it important? And then we could talk a little bit more about the application of it for marine scientific fields, STEM fields in general, because I think its utility in those fields might be a bit different than what you might see in the business world or, a different sector. So obviously, it's, as most of us probably know, it's an online service for networking and professional connection, with the purpose of kind of helping you to establish your professional brand, connecting with other professionals. You can look for jobs on LinkedIn. And I think this point might be the most important one, verification of credentials. So I used to run an internship program, and when we would get to like the last couple of students that we were looking to choose between, LinkedIn's a great place to go to see if what's on their LinkedIn matches up to what they've put in their application and what's on their resume. And that was at, the college/graduate internship level. So I know that companies or, different organizations are using LinkedIn as a tool for, okay, we apply for jobs. We say we have this experience, that experience. If they can go to a public facing site, your LinkedIn profile, and corroborate what they're seeing on your application, that's, kind of two different sources that they're seeing, your information from. So that's an important one. And I think that's probably like the theme we'll talk about throughout the rest of the LinkedIn portion of the webinar. And also it's a great place to provide career updates, share accomplishments. I think like we'll do a little walkthrough, but I think when I first started looking for jobs, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I work for NOAA now. I would look in like the job section on LinkedIn, but now I think if I were looking for a new job, looking for posts that I have made through my connections on LinkedIn that I might have, a more direct connection to those folks who are posting that job on their LinkedIn profile saying, hey, we've got a job opportunity at, my organization. That's a great way to use your network that you're a little bit more personally connected to than to just go to the LinkedIn, jobs section and throw a bunch of applications out there and hope something sticks. So I think, the more interactive portion of it is I find very helpful. So then, and I'll just also say too that I used to give this presentation with Ray Quadera, who used to be the secretary for the swim steering committee, but we both used to manage ocean exploration internship programs, and we'd give this to our students and ask them like myth or fact, because I think we were both in this position like before we started our professional careers. The STEM field, especially ocean science, does not use or care about LinkedIn. And I think we can all probably agree it's a bit of a myth. And we're all mature enough professionals to know that anything you put on the internet, it exists, it's out there. So if you're going to have a LinkedIn profile, and this was my problem, so I had this LinkedIn profile, it was bare bones, I didn't keep up with it. So if an employer searched me, they're just going to see this old profile, it's not up to date. And I would rather at that point not have one at all than to have one that's not professional, not kept up to date. So definitely a myth. And let's talk about why. So yeah, it's a great tool to stay connected. Ooh, looks like we got waiting room. All right. So just talking through a couple of LinkedIn and just like also general networking etiquette. I think some of these suggestions and these stay away froms Ray and I collected over the years of working with our individual internship programs that we ran. But some suggestions, just always defaulting to professionalism while still being open and being yourself. I think that's, pretty self-explanatory. We're all professionals, whether we're students or, we're in our career paths, but just always defaulting to the most professional version of yourself, but being true and being authentic to yourself and not compromising your personality and, who you are just for the sake of being super poised and super professional. So find that line that feels right for you and stick with that. When making introductions, always include your name, what you do, whether you're a student or, you have a job title, and your program or organization. It gives people, I'm even just listening to all of your backgrounds and where you guys are all calling in from, I made little connections thinking like somebody said they work for a National Ocean Sciences Bowl. Like I know people who have been involved in that before, and we're all introducing ourselves and we're all picking up little bits about each other that I'm thinking like, oh, I should reconnect with whoever said this or somebody who said that. So I think just always being, sharing that little bit of information that somebody will remember you by and be able to reconnect with you on is always helpful. When it comes to LinkedIn, adding connections promptly. So I think here's a good example. Ray is very good at this, if you know Ray. When you go to a conference, so I think a bunch of us went to Ocean Sciences meeting in New Orleans earlier this year, and you meet a ton of people. Maybe you'll add some of them on LinkedIn. Adding them on LinkedIn the day after the conference ends and sending them a message that says, hey, it was great meeting you yesterday at whatever session at Ocean Sciences. I'm looking forward to staying connected. that's especially if you met somebody who might work for an organization that you're interested in or you're looking for a job with, that's a great way to, now you've met in person, you've connected on LinkedIn, and you've sent a message. That's 3 different points of contact for somebody to remember you by and for you to form a connection with somebody. But adding those connections promptly the day after the conference is great. Definitely more timely and probably more effective than adding them 2 months down the line when you rediscover your notebook that you forgot about from the conference and you're going through it and shuffling through business cards. So I like to do this when I'm like on the plane on the way home, and I just do it on my phone, like whip out my phone and be like, oh, I met this person, like connect. And then, especially if it's somebody who works for an organization you're interested in, it's not weird to send a message. That's what LinkedIn's for. So people expect it. So networking for the sake of making new connections and fostering new relationships and not always asking for something. So like I mentioned, like I'm not looking for a new job right now. I love my job. I want to keep it and keep doing what I'm doing. But that's not going to stop me from, if I meet somebody at a conference or a meeting, or some of you guys that I'm meeting for the first time here through SWMS, go ahead and add them on LinkedIn. You don't need to connect with folks and network with folks just because you're looking for some sort of outcome. I think networking for the sake of making connections, and I know we're all great at this in SWMS. That's why we're here. We care about building community, and by building those authentic connections and community, when you are looking for a new job or you are looking for a new opportunity, having that foundation to fall back on, that you've already built this authentic community around you, is going to be really helpful. And it's going to make it easier for people to be like, oh, Megan, I know her, she's great. We've been chatting back and forth on LinkedIn. So I think just having those genuine relationships and keeping in touch with people is great. Like I give an example always of one of the interns that went through the program that I used to work on. She has kept in touch with us for years. I think her internship was like 3 years ago at this point, and still reaches out like every 6 to 8 months or so and tells us what she's up to. I have since changed jobs. I think some of her other mentors have since changed jobs, but we still get that email from her every 6 to 8 months being like, hey guys, I was thinking of you guys. Here's what I've been up to. And she sends an email, but you could do that through LinkedIn as well. And just keeping that routine, contact with people you want to stay in touch with throughout your professional career. And just setting dedicated time to keep up with your LinkedIn or your resume. I put a calendar reminder on my work, like Google Calendar, once every quarter that just says like update LinkedIn and update resume. I know how daunting it can be to, when you want to start looking for a job, to have to go, and it feels like a huge, applying for jobs and applying for school and anything, it's a full-time job in itself. By keeping these things up to date regularly, you can avoid having to really dig yourself out of a hole, and you won't forget as many things too. So I think just keeping a little reminder on your calendar to update your stuff on a regular basis can save you some time and headache when it comes time to applying for stuff. And these are some pretty, I think, obvious stay away froms that we shared. Just oversharing personal details. It's pretty self-explanatory. Keep it professional, keep it short and sweet. Asking directly to be hired, it's a little cringe, a little unprofessional. We don't want to do it. Treating LinkedIn like personal social media. I think I have definitely seen the rise in like LinkedIn influencers that has kind of like come about recently, and I find it a little odd. Just remembering that people can see your activity on your profile, like even if they're not your connection, if they are connected to somebody that you're connected to on LinkedIn, that person might be able to see your activity. So just being really mindful of what you put online. And user discretion when adding new people. This is just blanket statement, right? For anything we do on the internet, make sure you're being safe and you're being conscious of what details you're sharing about yourself to other people, especially if this is somebody you never have actually met in person. So just be aware, be mindful, make sure you're taking care of yourself anytime you're online. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pop open my LinkedIn. Can somebody just tell me if you're seeing like a LinkedIn homepage?
You're good, Trish.
All right, thanks. Okay, so let's do a little walkthrough. And for, a lot of us might be familiar with LinkedIn, have a profile, but I am certainly, not like a LinkedIn super user. I think I would call myself like a LinkedIn regular user, and probably like the average person who uses LinkedIn. So there's definitely stuff on here that you can get real deep into. And if you're
Hey,
a job,
Trish. Sorry. Can you zoom in on your browser window?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you. Just a little, at least for me, I don't know about others, but.
Is it little? Is this
better?
It's
a little, that's better for me, but I think that's good.
Okay.
If someone else needs it zoomed in more, just holler.
This poor woman who's like posted something and now it's like we're all staring at her. I'll refresh. Okay. So I would definitely say I'm not, I don't think I am like the world's expert on LinkedIn. This is just how I interact with it and how I've had my experience. So just starting at the homepage for, the basics. This is if you make a LinkedIn profile, this is what your homepage looks like, similar to like your Facebook homepage where you have posts in the middle here, or, in this case, suggested posts. Like I don't follow this account. Suggested posts from people you're connected with, ads. LinkedIn also serves ads, just like any other social platform. So that's what you're seeing here on your homepage. On the left, you've got, your information here, which we'll get to in a second. And then down here on the left in this sidebar, you've got any groups that you're a part of. So I'll show the ones that I'm in. And we have a SWMS one. So we have a SWMS group, and I'll click through the SWMS group in a second to talk more about groups. But we have an internship alumni group for the internship program I used to work on, and just ocean exploration internship programs in general. Like I mentioned, I went to University of Miami. So this is an alumni group. This is my sororities alumni group. So there's all of these different groups that, I'm a part of on LinkedIn that if I were to click on one, I'm able to see posts from folks who are in that group. So we'll hold off on groups and we'll walk through the SWMS one in just a second to kind of give an example. And then over here on the right is like news stories. They're going to try to sell you a LinkedIn premium. I've never paid LinkedIn for their premium service. I know people who have. I think it depends on, what you want to use it for. I did the trial once, and I think it was like, so another reason why you want to make sure that what you're sharing on LinkedIn is accurate, and is how you want to be portraying yourself to the world, is that if you search somebody on LinkedIn, so if you guys searched me on LinkedIn, I would be able to see that, for example, like if Katie searched me, I could see that Katie Gallagher searched me on LinkedIn. And then, if I am a job seeker and Katie works for the organization I'm applying for a job at, I might be like, oh, like they're looking at my application, right? They got my application, they're reading it. They want to check up on my stuff to make sure it all checks out. So just keeping that in mind that like you can see who has viewed your profile. There are ways to restrict the privacy settings so that you can't see who's viewed your profile, but they can't see anything about you. The LinkedIn Premium, though, will tell you everyone who has viewed your profile, whereas the free version will only tell you like the last 3 people who have viewed it. So that's, if you're looking for a job and you really want to know who's seen your profile, maybe that's for you. I've never used the premium, but it's available. And then you have your messages, which is just direct messages that'll pop up in this bar down here. So if you wanted to make a post, you can make a post here. You can add photos, you could add all sorts of media to your post. I don't know if I've really ever made a post on LinkedIn. Maybe like when I graduated grad school, I did because I was looking for a job. And maybe once or twice others, I've made a post when I've like a paper that I wrote has been published and sharing the link to the journal article. So those types of things are very appropriate for making a post on LinkedIn. But I definitely have found myself like resharing posts of different opportunities, like, job opportunities that somebody has posted that I want to share with, my community, or, different things that my office has worked on, or our partners. Like I've shared those things on LinkedIn, and those kind of come up as posts as well. So I'm going to go to my profile and we could do a little walkthrough. So this is kind of what the typical profile looks like. My government name is Patricia, but nobody calls me that, not even my parents. So I do put Trish in parentheses because like even my work email is Trish. So I just, if you are like me and you have, a nickname that you go by that everybody knows you by, you can put that in parentheses if you think that that's what they're going to search for you. Like some people I work with don't even know my first name is actually Patricia. And they're like, I didn't know that until I added you on LinkedIn. So you can have that option on there. There's a space to put your pronouns, a space here for your job title. And if you want to edit this, you're going to use these different little pencil buttons here to do all your edits. So I think what's cool about LinkedIn, as it's been like updated over the years, is you can put a lot of information or a little information. So like in mine, when I edited it and I built it, I have my headline, which for me is my job title and my current position. It asks you things about your industry that you're a part of, where you went to school, your region, and all of this information helps to kind of complete your profile so that LinkedIn can better tailor things to you, like jobs in the jobs tab or posts that might be of interest to you. But again, making sure you're being smart about what content you're putting on there. So down here, there's a few other options. If you are open to work, you can click, if you're looking for a job, you can do open to finding a new job, showing recruiters or people online that you're looking for a job. If you're hiring, if you're looking to showcase some sort of service. And then there's other profile sections you can put as well. So if you wanted to really dig into more about your education or your skills, or if you have a break in your career where you took some time off and you feel the need that you want to explain that to a potential viewer of your profile who might be an employer, you could put information about that here. So there's lots of things you can click around with in like the basic information section. And then I chose to kind of keep this about section very short and sweet. A little bit about me, this is like if somebody in an elevator was like, tell me about your professional interests, like I hope these are the words that I would spit out to them, because these are my interests and this is what I do. So this is just a little tagline about yourself that's, almost like if you have Instagram, like what you'd put in your Instagram bio, but the professional version of that. And then LinkedIn also has this nice featured section where I guess if we're comparing this to other types of like social media, how on Instagram or on Facebook you can pin a post onto your profile. It's very similar to the featured section. So this is going to pin and keep displayed a few different types of content that you want people to see. So for mine, like I said, I had made a post about 2 papers that I was a lead author on, the internship program that my office runs, and some programs I was affiliated with at my university. So if people come to my profile, they can kind of see a little bit about me and my background and what I've done. And these are the first things I'd want them to see. So I put them right there in the forefront. Haven't updated this in a while, probably could, but these are nice. So remember we talked a little bit about being mindful of activity. So this is where you can see people can see your activity. So like I shared this post from UCAR and CPAS about a communications specialist. But you could see that if you went to my profile, you could see that I shared that. So it's being mindful about what you're sharing. And then this section is almost like a little LinkedIn version of a resume. So this is where you can see people's job experience, background, school background as well. And I basically, when I made this, you just use the little pencil tab to edit it. But I just went to my job description and I pulled out kind of abbreviated versions of what I do. And I did that for all of the different jobs that I've held. And I think it's really personal preference how far you want to go back. Like, I don't think anybody who's going to be my LinkedIn connection cares that I worked at Papa John's in the 10th grade. So I might not include that, but anything that's relevant to like my current career interests, and where I want to go, I've got listed here. And then I'll just show like one more thing because I want to turn it over to Katie, which is actually, I guess, two more quick things, which is groups. So I'll go to the SWMS group for an example. So groups is kind of like a little private version of LinkedIn that only the members in the group can see. I think groups are super helpful for sharing your information with a really small community. This is a great place to join a group like the SWMS group, and I encourage you guys to do so, where people might post jobs, might post updates that are very relevant to, you know, something you're interested in because you're part of that group. And then the jobs section, it's a little iffy for me sometimes of if LinkedIn is the right place to be looking for and applying for jobs. I think in this field where the job market is super competitive, you know, anywhere you can look for jobs, definitely look for them. But I think what I always caution people against when they're applying for jobs and looking for jobs and using LinkedIn as a tool for it is using like the LinkedIn Easy Apply. So like, for example, if I was interested in this geotechnical project manager position and I clicked on it, it's got the job information. I think LinkedIn's a great place to save jobs that you want to go back to, but they've got this apply button here. And if I click that, you know, it's asking, do I want to share my profile with this company who's applying? And I could click continue, I could say yes, but I just always tell people when they're looking for jobs and they're searching through LinkedIn, make sure that you're going to the organization's website who's posted that job. So it's great, you found this job, you think it's awesome, you want to apply for it. Go to this company's website and go to their careers page or their job opportunities page and make sure you're following their instructions for applying for that job. I think I've seen, you know, people before, you know, go, for example, like if I went to this Esri one, I'd want to go to Esri's website and apply there. If there was, sometimes you'll see a button here that says LinkedIn Easy Apply. All it's doing is sharing, if you upload a resume to LinkedIn, it's sharing that resume. It's sharing your profile with them, but they might not actually be getting to see your amazing application that you would put together if you had gone to their website. So just use it as a tool, but not as your only tool for looking for jobs. And then the only last thing I'll mention, then I'll turn it over to Katie, is LinkedIn Learning. If you go to this for business tab, I already have it open. LinkedIn Learning is like a professional course site for educational content about professional development and whatnot. So you can go to LinkedIn Learning as a university student, or if you work for university, or I think even if you have a public library card, you can access the paid version of LinkedIn Learning with your school's credentials or your library card login and get even more content here. And I know it seems like silly, like, oh, what am I going to learn from like these silly LinkedIn courses? But some of them are actually like super useful. I've seen ones about like relevant for our field, like JS or coding or things like that. So some of them are a little bit more like soft skills oriented, but some of them are like some really good stuff. So if you're looking to like brush up on some of your skills, definitely check some of these out. I definitely used them when I was graduating from grad school and looking for a job. All right, I'm gonna stop there and turn it to Katie. Actually, let me share back my screen again so we can get to Katie's slides. But Katie, would you rather do questions for LinkedIn now or just save all questions for the end?
Yeah, I think if people have questions for you right now, sorry, I'm just trying to also pin myself. If anyone's got any quick questions in the chat, or want to come off mute and just ask, you're free to go for it. But if not, we can just move on to professional websites if no one's got any quick questions. I think we got
one from Mia.
Yeah, Mia, go for it.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So like, I know you were saying how in the experience part you put kind of like your job experience that relates to your career. But if you have mostly done like non-paid positions, is that something you want to put in like the volunteering section and maybe just put like bullet point skills that you learned in those experiences? Or like, are you supposed to kind of just put like a whole big thing of like, this is everything I did type thing?
Yeah, I think good question. I think it's up to you how you want to do it, but I do think it is super relevant to put that volunteer experience that you have on your LinkedIn, because even though that work you did was unpaid work, it's still work. It's still stuff that you did and you gained skills from it. So use that to your advantage by putting it on your profile, just like you would your resume. And I think, I think it depends how significant that experience was. If it was like a one-off beach cleanup volunteering day, maybe that can go in the volunteering section. But if you've been volunteering at the animal shelter for 5 years and you go there 10 hours a week, that's pretty significant. And you might want to put that in a more prominent place where it can be highlighted, like in your experience section. So I think it's nuanced depending on like what type of volunteer activity it is, but definitely make sure it's there somewhere because that's work that you did.
Any other questions about LinkedIn? And I will also preface this by saying we do have a LinkedIn group. I don't think any of the current admins are on the current steering committee, so I have actually just sent an email. I know we're supposed to be present in these workshops, but I did send an email to Ray while it was top of mind to see if we can remedy that. So the group, I'm not on LinkedIn, which is probably why the group is not super active, but we are going to work on getting that more active if people want to use that as a resource. So if there are no more questions, we'll move on to the professional website portion of this. And I'll remind everyone that I am a postdoc. I'm very much in the academic career stage and or career type, I guess I should call it. And so professional websites are more common, at least in my experience, in academic careers. A lot of universities will give their faculty and their grad students the opportunity to make a personal website on the university's page. But what happens when you leave a university or you're not at an institution and you don't have that resource? You can create your own. And I really like professional websites because LinkedIn, as Trish just went over, is super customizable. But you can also use a professional website for a lot of the things. Like you can add galleries if you're if you're a science communicator and you do photography, you can do professional galleries of your work. Or if you do a lot of sci art or anything like that, you can display those things on a website that you make yourself it might be a little more challenging to display on a LinkedIn page. You can also write a blog. You can write stuff on LinkedIn through posts and stuff, but if you want to write in like a longer format about your experiences or other things, your research papers, for example, you can also do that on a personal website as well. Trish, can we get the next slide, please? And like I said, these generally serve the same purpose. So they are for professional branding. You can use them to provide career updates or sharing accomplishments or sharing papers or things like that. But these are not like an active social media like a social website like LinkedIn is. The real downside of a professional website is that you still kind of have to put that website out there. So if you're more introverted and not super into your own social media, but you're really into the swim social media, like I am, these are a great sort of alternative if you don't want to feel that pressure to like be constantly posting on something like LinkedIn. Next slide, Trish. That sort of being said, some things that I've mentioned that you can do on LinkedIn that you necessarily can't do on a professional website is, again, connecting with those other professionals. You can't make active connections. Again, no one else is on this website but you. You're also not going to be able to look for jobs, and One thing that Trish didn't mention is that one cool thing about LinkedIn is that people can certify you. I don't remember what the language is now, Trish, but they can say
It's like
you,
endorse you for
yes, you can
different
get
skills.
endorsed
Yeah.
for different skills. So, for example, I would probably get endorsed in something like R coding or other things that I do in my day-to-day job. And colleagues and your connections can endorse you for those skills. Again, because this isn't really a social network or anything like that, you can't get that verification. Next slide, Trish. So how do you make a professional website? There are a lot of different options. I've listed only 6 here total. There are some paid options such as WordPress, Wix, or Squarespace, where you pay a set amount a month to get that website as your own. And these can range from anywhere from a few bucks to these websites usually have tiers, so you can pay as much or as little as you want, depending on what you need. I will confirm that if you've been with Swims for a while, you probably noticed our brand new website. That is all done on Squarespace, and I can confirm Squarespace is very easy to use, and I've really liked our experience so far on the new website. So that's a good platform if you don't want to have to do a lot of finagling with your website and you want something that's pretty point and click that you can use a lot of different templates for. There are also a lot of free options. We're going to talk about GitHub pages today, which is what I use, but there's also things like Weebly, Google Sites, and I'm sure there's a lot of others that I did not have time to look at. But Trish, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, we're going to talk about GitHub pages today because that's what I use. And I won't spend too much time on this slide because Trish really hit the nail on the head. The general tips and tricks here, at least from my experience with professional websites, are very similar to the ones that Trish shared for LinkedIn. You want to keep it professional. You don't want to be sharing all of your pictures. If you have like a photo gallery of field work, you want to share the ones that are appropriate. Don't show everyone going to the bar after you got back from a long day in the field, all of that kind of fun stuff. Keep it updated. My least favorite thing as someone on the academic job market is going to try to figure out what research the department does and finding that all of the faculty websites are incredibly out of date. And so you have no idea what you're walking into. So again, keep it updated. Try to keep, I really like Trish's idea of setting a reminder every quarter to update things. As someone who's actively on the job market, I basically am updating things the second that something happens in my life or that I agree to something. But if you're not actively on the job market like I am, you can definitely do that at a different rate. And I like to use one thing that I think that personal websites can do really well if you set them up correctly, and if this is something you're interested in, is using it sort of as a portfolio. So like Trish said, on LinkedIn, you can share research articles and news stories and things like that. But don't be afraid to also include those in your personal website. And you can include things like videos. You can include links to papers. You can also include links to other materials. We'll go to my personal website in a second, and I can actually show you that I have an example syllabus that I've created for a course I taught to high school seniors to show to potential employers that I am that I have skills and that I have done this in the past. Leah just mentioned in the chat that she's heard of NeoCities is another free option for building a web page. So yeah, that's good to know. I did not know of that one. But yeah, we can actually get out of the slide deck. We're going to walk through my personal website now. So I will share my screen if I can remember what tab it is, because I have 500 tabs open. So like I mentioned, let me hide this. Hide video panel. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. I never remember which one it is. Sorry, guys. You think after a few years on Zoom, we'd know. So like I mentioned, I use GitHub Pages for my personal website, and I'll kind of go into this back end a little bit, but you will need a GitHub account for this to work, which is free. So no need to worry about that. And if you're already coding or working with publicly accessible data, you might already have a GitHub. I already had this account, and I have a few repositories in it. But this is definitely the one that I use the most often. This is what the front side of my web page looks like. Can y'all see that? I have like completely lost the.
Yeah, we can see it. Maybe could you also zoom your browser in just a bit? I've got you on like my big monitor so I can see you, but maybe if folks have
Let
smaller.
me zoom into 150.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, I have completely lost the Zoom controls, but we'll figure that out later. So this is my personal website. This actually, one nice thing about personal websites and things like that is that you can really customize. They're really customizable. This actually, and there's actually a lot of people, especially on GitHub Pages, that make templates for different websites. And so this is actually a template that I borrowed that is publicly available to use for specifically academics and academic personal websites. So it is a little bland looking. I will openly admit that, but I didn't want to make it too busy or worry too much about designing it and the colors and all of that kind of fun stuff. I really just wanted it to be pretty simple and to the point. And I'll click through all of these pages in a minute, but what we'll really see is that this web page, kind of like LinkedIn, is an extended version of my resume. The landing page for my personal website is just an about me page. I describe what my research interests are broadly and then go a little bit into more detail about the 2 projects that I'm working on right now. I have the best way to contact me. And I also have a little statement here that I am currently on the job. Wow, I need to fix that typo. I am current, apparently, on the academic job market, hoping to get a tenure track. I think somebody called it a big girl job. I am also looking for a big girl job for next year, as I have about a year left in my postdoc. So this little call is here. If you're curious, no one has taken me up on this offer and has reached out other than people I know to share opportunities with me. But it is there. I have a headshot here as well as a short little bio. And these are all links to like my email, my GitHub, my Google Scholar, Orchid, my email address, etc. I won't click through each and every one of these, but on my research, I have, again, a bit more in depth than what something you might get off of my resume. What my current projects are, some of my previous work. And then this links over to my publications page, which is also in the top bar. Again, this is going to be very resume-like, but I have my different publications and I've broken them down into the different projects so you know which publications are related to different projects that I'm working on. So those 2 sections, the publication side was very CV-like and very CV-heavy. But sort of in these next 2 are sort of where I think I go a bit more in depth into what I've done. For talks and presentations, I give a list of some of the presentations I've done recently, as well as I try to plug anywhere I'm going to be. If anyone's looking at this as a potential, say I've applied for some faculty job, and somebody on the search committee is looking at my website and they're going to be, this meeting was actually about a month ago, so I need to update this. But I'm sorry if you can hear my cat crying in the background. He's hungry and wants his dinner. Stop it. But if anyone on the search committee or anyone is interested in my work is going to be at these conferences, they can know to look out for me. And if this was a relatively small meeting, but I also did this for the Ocean Sciences meeting back in February. And I listed the section numbers that I was presenting in, because that's a pretty big meeting, and it's very easy to get lost in those agendas. So if I'm going to a big meeting, I'll write down exactly when and where I'm talking, so people can find me, and that's a really good way to put yourself out there. Kind of going into the classroom and beyond. This is sort of where I have an example syllabus linked. This file is is in sort of my GitHub repository for this website. I also have a different curriculum that I designed that I taught to high school seniors. This is an example syllabus I built as part of a science teaching science course that I took a few years ago. And I also have a link to, I'm also a carpentries instructor, which is a fancy way of saying I know how to teach coding. And so I have a link to the Carpentries website as well. So you can add a lot of these different links to kind of show the breadth of what you're working on. I also have lists of my mentees, who I've mentored through research projects, and none of these students have published work yet, but another Catherine is working on publishing her work from her honors thesis. So when that gets published, I will probably include that in here as well. I also have some outreach links. So I've participated in Skype a Scientist. I do Letters to a Pre-Scientist, which is a great program if you haven't heard of it. It's a pen pal program, so I actually just got a letter in the mail today from a sixth grader out in California, so I'm really excited to read that when we wrap up here. But I have all of these things sort of linked. And then finally, I have my CV. And I put this little disclaimer at the top. This is the SparkNotes version of my CV. So I've put the really important big bullet points that I want to highlight, but I've also put a PDF in here for people to download by complete CV. And actually, once we're done with this, I'll show you how that works. So this again is just a sort of a bulleted list of where I got my PhD. The Lewis folks in the room will recognize Matt Oliver, who was my PhD advisor. A bulleted list of my research experience, highlighting funders, and basically service and leadership. So I have a section in here for SWMS. Ultimately, I would like to make a header for sort of my DEI work, but I haven't had the bandwidth yet to do that, but that will happen at some point. I wanted to highlight that for like awards and stuff like that. This is a great place to, if you've given a talk and it was recorded, it's a great place to link videos. So I participated in this postdoc spotlight, which is basically TED Talks for postdocs here at Stony Brook, and I won 3rd place last year. And they actually recorded all the videos, and so the YouTube video is available here. And so if you have anything similar, I highly recommend highlighting those on your websites. So the one thing about GitHub is that it can be a little scary to people if you don't have coding experience. For this particular version, which you can see if I click on this link, academicpages.github, this is basically the template that I used. You can see how it looks identical to what I just showed you. But this one is very plug and play, and that's one of the reasons I chose it. There's also a lot of really great tutorials on GitHub and elsewhere. This particular template comes with very explicit instructions on how to run this, and how to work and how to make your own copy and all of that stuff. Just to give you an example of, say, how I would update my CV in this case, and this is going to be different for each template that you choose, But if you're using this template, what I do is I go into pages, and then there is this CV. This is my CV page right here. And there's different pages in here for all sorts of different things. I don't use all of these. These all just came with the template. But I can click on the CV page and you'll see this looks almost exactly like what we saw on the live page of my website. To edit this, what I would do is click this little pencil, and then you'll see the sort of code. There is no like actual HTML code, although if you want to find that, I'm sure you could. I don't want to. I don't know HTML. But this is basically the text that we can edit to change my website. So to update this link, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete. This is the link for the CV that you can download from my webpage. These little brackets start and end the hyperlink. And then what I'm actually going to do, what I really like, is I can actually just delete this link. I can go into my file navigator, which you're not seeing, and I'm grabbing the latest version of my CV, if I can get my Windows to cooperate. So I'm grabbing the latest version of my CV, and I'm actually just going to drop it from my files directly into this sort of text file. I'm going to delete, it automatically puts in sort of this hyperlink with the file name. I'm just going to delete that. And then you hit to save everything. The GitHub term for this is commit changes. So we're going to just commit changes. And if you're good, you'll write a little message about what you've done, what changes you've made. So I'm just going to write update CV, PDF. I don't always do this. But if you're making a lot of different changes, or maybe you're thinking about 2 different things that you want to try out, having sort of this little description of what you've done to make these changes is super helpful. And if you're familiar with GitHub and working on pages collaboratively, you know how important this is. But if it's just you, it's not super important. But I can hit saving, and now it is saved. If you're on my website and you're following along, you might notice that it's not updated yet. It does take a little bit of time for these things to update, and you can see these 3 dots up near update CSV means that it's pending. Usually it only takes, if you've done everything right, it only takes maybe a minute or 2. Oops. But you can see all the updates that I've made to this page. You see that it's now got this little brown circle on it, which means it's working, that GitHub is working on it. Once it turns into this green check mark, the new CV will be live. We can do this again with that typo I noticed on my homepage. So I can go back to my pages, go to my about page, and edit it. And I can make this say currently instead of current. I think for the sake of time, because I know we're getting a little late, I will leave it at that. But there's a lot you can really dive into in all of these. And again, one of the things I really love about these websites is how customizable they are. And so you can really dive into all of these things and add blog posts, add lots of pictures if that's something you're into, and really make it your own, more than you can, say, with just the LinkedIn website. Trish, oh, there it is. Never mind. I couldn't find the button to stop sharing. I had lost all of you for a long time. And I once again apologize for my cat. Does anyone have any questions about personal websites? And here, I will pay the cat tax and grab my cat. He ran away. Yeah, Alexandra, go for it.
Yeah, thank you. This was great. I'm curious if I was interested in creating my own website, like coding and like using GitHub, are there any resources in particular that you found very helpful, or like, you know, like where would you start, especially if you're not that great at like coding?
Yeah, I will say a lot of these GitHub, this dog, a lot of the, like you kind of saw with my website, a lot of it doesn't actually require any coding skills. There's some stuff on the back end, that again doesn't require any coding skills, but having some knowledge of coding is helpful just so you kind of understand the file formats and kind of what it's asking for. But GitHub itself has a lot of great tutorials on GitHub pages. And I've had this website now for about 2 years, so I don't remember exactly what I used. But there are a lot of great GitHub pages, tutorials that I used, and there's a quick start guide, and I remember it's very easy to kind of like get set up with a custom domain, and there's a lot of sort of, you can go down rabbit holes very quickly. But I'll drop this this, at least for GitHub, this sort of quick start guide was very helpful. I'll drop that link in the chat. But just to get started, like you'll notice that my personal website, I didn't bother with a custom domain or any sort of special hosting like that. So as long as you don't want to get into that, this quick start guide is super helpful. And then there's a bunch, I couldn't find it, but I remember being able to browse like templates on GitHub. Like you were able to look at each of them individually, like kind of in like a gallery view. I couldn't find that to share with you guys today, but that might be somewhere out on the internet. Because there are a lot of different templates you can pick, whether if you want to do more of a blog style thing or if you want to go for like the academic route that's kind of boring looking like mine. But there's a lot of different options out there to customize it. And I'm sure if I got into the nitty gritty, which would probably involve some coding skills, or at least some general know-how, like how to change the color of my screen so it's not white or whatever, something like that. But just to pretty basic, and just to get yourself out there, there's not a huge learning curve, which was very important for me as someone who didn't have a ton of time. Are there any other questions for me? Are there any other questions for Trish?
Add us on LinkedIn. Add each other on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I will promise, we will get the SWMS group sort of, it's still there, but it's just not very active. So we are working on that. I will also say this, I will plug again, the SWMS Slack is a great resource for sharing job opportunities. We've also, one of the new things that we just added really to the Slack is these communities. So we have all of these different community channels for different career stages, things like that, so that if you want to join that career, like say you wanted to join academia, you could go into there and ask questions, potentially even get feedback. If you wanted to ask about being a postdoc or ask about being in industry, things like that, or just to talk to people in that same sort of career stage or career level or discipline. That's what those communities are really there for. Chloe, I see your question in the chat. If you are a SWMS member, you can, this is a bit complicated because of how our membership platform has transferred over due to the Squarespace shift. But if you're registered on Squarespace, and you log in, the member specific page has a permanent link to join the Slack. If you are not you are an older member and have not re-upped your membership on Squarespace yet, you should have received an email from me about a month and a half ago with a link to the Slack. But if you did not receive that email, please get in touch and let us know, and we can make sure you have access to that link.
Any more questions out there, guys? And if you think of anything, you know where to find us.
Yes. Slack is a great, again, we're trying to make Slack a community for asking questions like this and getting feedback. So please use that. Or get in touch with one of us. But yeah. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you guys for coming.
I'm gonna stop the recording.